Hello, hello. I'm Debbie Danford at craftiercreations.blogspot.com and happy Tuesday. Today we're going to do some watercolor backgrounds. Last week on Tuesday, I think it was, I brought you some, or I demonstrated some cards using the Peaceful View stamp set, and we stamped on some DSP, and now all of a sudden, the Thoughtful Journey. Yay, the name came back. The Thoughtful Journey Designer Series paper. And I think I talked a little bit about coming back then on Thursday to do some watercolor backgrounds with this stamp set. Well, then Thursday I changed it up a little bit because I did an unboxing of the new virtual scrapbooking album that you can get. I wanted people to see what was all involved with that new item you can buy now, or products you can get, I should say. So today I'm going to show you how to do some watercolor backgrounds and using the Peaceful View. Now I've put a few samples together here, and then we're going to make some watercolor backgrounds, and then we'll put one more together. These are pretty simple layouts. There's nothing fancy about them. It's just more of what you can do with this one single stamp set, which I love. Now this is the bonus class for my monthly club. So if you're interested in maybe trying out a monthly club, it's $39.50 a month. We make 5 projects, 2 of each. And I let everybody involved, we have a private Facebook group, so I post out there prior to what the bundle, or I let them pick the bundle, and then I always throw in a bonus class. So if you're interested, put it in the comments, or I will also have the link there for you to find out the info on monthly club and all that kind of stuff. This is a great stamp set, I have to say. And I wasn't quite sure when I first saw it. But let's go ahead, and here's some that I had put together and stamped. And like, I did the video already for my bonus class for monthly club, and that's why some of these were stamped, and then I just put them together today because I like to sometimes just maybe make some watercolor backgrounds, and then I'll just put them in a place, and then when I feel like I maybe am not feeling creative or I want to pull some of these out and use them, I already have some designed up and ready to go, and so I don't remember all the color combinations. We've got some yellows and oranges here. Definitely, I feel like a lot of these that I've put together really scream fall or Halloween to me, but that's just me. Now, I didn't put any phrases on any of the 3 I just put together today, but you certainly could, I think in the ones I did for Monthly Club, which I don't have them right here, you certainly could just add a simple little phrase, but this one's yellow and orange. Now this one was Flirty Flamingo and Daffodil Delight. That one I remember because I just did those 2. And again, a little different. First version, second version, maybe even third version. You'll see as I show you how I do it. And there's no right or wrong on how to do this. And I did take little strips when I was cutting it down and put on the inside. I start with a quarter piece of basic white, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I have some others here left over, and we're going to use a couple of these probably to stamp on. And see, these were like second, third, fourth. Like this one got even lighter, but that doesn't mean it won't work. And I have several different color combinations kind of laying out here that I thought we would try today. Now, the first thing you want to do is I'm using my glass mat. I love the glass mat. If you don't have the glass mat, I highly suggest you get a glass mat. It is awesome, honestly. I love it. They're $60 plus shipping and tax. Well, regardless of what surface you're using, glass mat, it could be a craft mat, and if you don't have any of those, wax paper works too. You don't have to have all the fancy stuff if you don't have it. Just make sure your surface is clean, because you will pick up residue if you have any little stickies or anything like that, which I did go wipe it. I feel like I missed a few, but we're going to just go with it. And then you need some water in a spritzer bottle. I use water. I think what we're going to do, I'm going to do some greens first. I haven't done a green one, so let's go ahead. And I always start with the lightest color, and I kind of just do this. Now, you can also do the same technique with your ink refills and just blot them down. I kind of like doing the stamping on here. I don't know why, but it's just what I like. And then I'm going to stamp some of the darker color. Well, these are very similar, so I'm not sure how this one is going to turn out. I haven't tried it, so you're going to see it at the same time I do. And then what we're going to do is spritz this. Now, I already have some 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 pieces here. At the same time as I'm spritzing this, I am going to spritz my paper. You want to spritz both sides, front and back. You do want to make sure that, if you have any cards or anything laying along your area, you want to make sure you've moved those out of the way, because this can get messy. Okay, so I've got both sides spritzed, and then here's the options you have. I tend to just drop. Some people like to do this kind of thing and kind of roll it around and pick up stuff. Now, not quite what I was expecting, but I don't dislike it. Do I worry about the white spots? Not really, because sometimes they look kind of cool in there, depending on where they are. But if you don't want any white, you certainly can pick more ink back up. I'm going to kind of go with this one, so I'm going to set it aside. I have a sheet over here that I'm using for drying. And I'm going to go ahead and do another one. Now, these are really light. I kind of wanted it to be a little bit darker, but you know, you never know what you're going to come up with. And be careful where you hold it, because if you have a dry mark, you'll see it. So now I'm going to do a little bit of dragging here. Yeah, these are, this wasn't quite what I was expecting, but I think once I stamp on it, I think we might see a little bit different result. Now, if you see that little fuzzy right there, which I'm not even going to worry about it, that's probably picking something up off the mat. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this one aside to dry. Now I'm going to bring in a paper towel here, and I'm not going to do a third one because I know it's going to get lighter and lighter. So we're just going to go ahead and wipe this clean. Okay, and then we're going to move on to a little bit different color palette here. I'm going to go with Flirty Flamingo. Actually, I'm going to put a little bit of yellow down first. So I'm using Daffodil Delight, which that's kind of dark. Daffodil Delight is kind of dark. I should have maybe pulled in Lemon Lolly. And then I'm going to, and I probably need to ink these up just a little bit. Now, like I said, if you're worried about spreading one color to the other, you can use drops if you want. And actually, I'll pull in some Flirty Flamingo. Let's just add one little, actually we'll add a couple right in the middle of that yellow. Let's just see what happens here. This is all about kind of playing with what you have. Now, normally when I do this kind of technique, my hands do get really dirty. So if you don't like having your hands all dirty, you can wear gloves. I don't usually. Now, as you spritz, you see you've got a lot of movement going on. And it's spreading around, making some good color. And now we can, let's see where I want to drop this. And like I said, some people like to do this. And then you get partial, where you could stamp. And for some stamping, that might be what you're looking for. For what I'm doing, a whole background, I like plopping the whole thing down, because this is a big bold stamp we're stamping with. And you see right there, I probably didn't get, there we go. See, I think that's going to make a great, great card. Okay, moving that one over here to dry. And we're going to go ahead and do another one with these because I kind of like these three colors, or two colors, blended together. That's why I'm saying you can move it around on your surface here and pick up other colors. I'm not even going to worry about that little spot because we can always trim that off later. Okay, let's move this one over here to dry. All right, I think I'm going to go ahead and clean it. And we'll wipe these colors up. And then I was trying to decide, like, I did really want to get some greens, but I have an idea here. All right, let's do some blues really quick. And then I think what we might do is add a little bit of, I was kind of thinking about if I wanted to do some Flirty Flamingo with some blue. Okay, I'm using Balmy Blue. Okay. And actually, I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in a little bit of the Daffodil Delight. You see, I'm not stamping the whole pad. And if you feel like you get some ink on here, all you have to do is wipe it off a little bit with a paper towel, and then you can re-ink it. Now, the darker one isn't going to show up. Okay. Got to be careful not to go too dark. And we're going to spritz this. I could tell my finger was right there. Okay, flip that over. I spritz both sides so that it kind of helps with the warping a little bit. Now, I might have gone a little too dark with the Misty Moonlight. We'll see what happens here. Now, here's where we're going to get some greens going on. Because blue and yellow make green. And I'm just going to plop it down. Ooh, we got some green coming out there. Ooh. And of course you can, move it around a little bit if you want your ink to move. I like how that turned out. That's awesome. Okay. All right. My drying mat's getting a little full over there. As you can see, I've splattered a little bit, and that's okay, because we're just going to ink it up anyway. That's why I say be careful of, when you're spritzing, what you have on the side of your table. Let's see. Nope, let's just pick some up. I like that yellow with it. And that's not the goal I had in mind from the beginning, but you see how I changed it up a little bit. I was thinking blues, and then I decided to, but this was a great way to get some green going on here. Okay. I'm going to do one more because I have a lot of blue left over here. Okay, and I'm going to do a little bit of dragging from this color, and then I'm going to come into this blue. Ooh, I like just that little bit. I like what that did. Nice. I've got enough left here that I'm going to go ahead and do one more. I just can't stop. That's the fun of this kind of technique. Now, if you don't like getting messy and dealing with, the spritzing and all that kind of stuff, you could do it with blending brushes. It'll be a little bit different effect, but you could do it. Because I like doing blending brush stuff too. They're just two different techniques that give you different... Look at that. Okay. Running out of room on my drying pad here. So I'm having to rearrange just a little bit. Now, as they're drying, I don't layer them up until they get a little bit dry because they will bleed a little bit. I think we're going to go ahead and clean this one up. I'm not going to do another one here. And then we're going to stamp. Now, I don't know if we'll stamp the ones we just made. I'll see here because I'll have to dry them with I'll see if any of the first ones we did are dry. Okay, clean up our glass mat. And see, it's really not that bad. I have more pieces there, but I mean, the sky's the limit on color combinations. Actually, I just had an idea. Okay, we're going to do one more color combination. I'm thinking I'm going to pull in some purples. I was almost going to pull in pink too, but I think I might add some yellow with this. So we're going to try something here. So let's go ahead and do fresh freesia. Oops. Highland Heather. And I'm going to pull in a little bit of yellow here too. The Daffodil Delight. Okay. We're going to see what this does. Can't do too many more. I'm going to have to go fill up my water. Oh, shoot. I think I'm going to have to go fill up my water really quick. Okay. I used every last drop there. And then I'll go fill it up. See, now my fingers are starting to show some of the ink from picking it up. And yeah, 2 seconds. Let me fill this up. All right, let's do a little bit more spritzing here. There we go. See what we can do here. Ooh, different. Different. But once you stamp it, who knows what it will look like, right? All right. We're going to let this one dry too. We're not going to do another one because I think it'll get too washed out a little bit. And it might, I'm thinking it was the yellow that kind of muted out some of our colors there, but it's still usable. Okay, clean surface. Let me move it over here to dry. All right, now what we're gonna do, dry my hands off. Okay, I'm gonna bring in the stamp set. Now, if you have one of our old Stamparatus, you can use that. It works great for this. If you have the big block, I forget what size, F, G, I don't remember. F, the big F block, that works too. I found using my glass mat was a perfect way to use this big bold stamp. And I literally just put it on the glass mat, lined it up straight, and pushed down. Okay. Now, I already have some blue ones here that we're going to stamp, that I've cut some layers to put a card together. And I think I'm going to go with this one first. You see we got a lot of bit of variation going on here. I like how that looks. And then I have a couple others ready to put together too. I'm just going to bring in Memento Black. Now you could do Versamark and emboss it with any different colors. You can, I mean, you could stamp in, oh, actually, I think we're not going to, well, we'll do this one in black. I was almost thinking about stamping it in Misty Moonlight. We'll do this one in black. We may try another one in Misty Moonlight, and then we may not assemble them all, but like I said, it's pretty basic card base. It's the standard 5.5 by 8.5, and then just your standard layers, however you want to do it, is how I did this one. Nothing, no fancy folds here, nothing like that. Now, what the nice thing is that I noticed with this stamp set, it inks up really nice, and you can tell where you've missed a spot. Okay, I'm going to put the lid back on that so that I don't get it everywhere. And two things. I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper here for what I'm going to do my rubbing on. Now, remember, this is bigger than what we're going to use. I am just going to lay it down right here. And once you've started putting it down, don't move it, because then you'll just smear everything. And then I put a scrap piece. You can either rub with your hands, which I've done many times. If you have some kind of, when the Stamparatus was very popular, a lot of people were coming up with these little gadgets. I don't even know what they're called. Somebody gave me this one. And it helps rub things out on a surface really easy. Now, what you want to do is be careful of that little indentation area where there's this area here where there's no rubber, because if you push down there and you happen to have maybe got a little bit of ink there, you'll pick it up. And that's one thing you don't want to do. So just be careful when you're doing your rubbing. And then I'm going to pick that up and pick, oh, look at that. Oh my gosh. That is so pretty. Like a midnight sky going on there. All right, let's go ahead and do a couple more. Why not, right? Let me see if any of these are dry or dry enough. Here, I'm going to bring in 2 of these, but we're going to dry them, or at least try to dry them really quick with the heat gun. Just so you can see these couple other colors. I really wanted to try this one with the blues and greens, so let's get this one dry. Normally I just make a whole bunch, I set them out to dry, and I just let them sit there for, you know, a couple hours or overnight even, sometimes, depends. It doesn't take them that long to dry, but usually I just make a whole bunch and then do my stamping on it, unless I'm in a hurry. Now, I did try stamping on the watercolor paper. I think I have the sample here. I'll show that too. I didn't care for it with this stamp set. All right. I think we might be okay, at least on that one. This one still needs a little bit more, so let me... I always hate to have you watching me dry paper. And I'm working on figuring out how to edit and fast forward through parts like this, but I don't have it figured out yet. Okay. I think we're just going to hope for the best there. Okay. That one's not quite dry. This one, yeah, they'll both be okay, but I normally would probably dry them a little bit more. Okay, let's ink this up again, and I'm going to use the Memento again right now. And this is what I mean about ink where you don't want it. Don't push right there. You would pick that up. Okay. Remember, once you lay it down, you've committed. And then you rub. Now, if you are using a Stamparatus, of course, then you could go over it twice, 3 times if you wanted to get it really dark. Lift it up. Ooh, I moved it. Ooh, pretty different. I like it, but it definitely is different. Okay, let's do one more. We'll do this one in the black, and then I'm going to clean it, and we're going to stamp a different blue one, a dry one, in the Misty Moonlight, just so I can show you what it looks like with the Misty Moonlight. Okay, there's that. I'm going to lay that down right there. Rub, rub, rub. Put some pressure on there. Moved it again. Ooh, we had a little bit of yellow up there. I like it. I like how that turned out. I almost like it better than our first one here. I like them both. Okay, I'm going to clean this, and then we're going to stamp a blue one in Misty Moonlight, just so I can show you. And then we'll decide here which one we want to put together. I have a Misty Moonlight card base with a basic black layer. Okay, so there's that. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. Oh. Don't know if I've ever sneezed on a video. I'm so sorry. Okay, we're going to ink it up now with Misty Moonlight. And we'll see how it changes. Now, right now, it kind of looks the same, right? But you will notice a difference. And let's lay this one down. This one was curled a little bit, so I'm going to hold it in place and then do our rubbing. Okay. Whew. It's different with the blue. I like it. I'm not sure which one I like better now. Wow, I do. I like the blue. I definitely, it's a different look. So keep that in mind. You don't always have to stamp them in the Memento black. It changes the effect of the card, definitely. I like the blue. Okay, so let's go ahead and clean this up, and then I'm going to move it out of the way, and we're going to put together a couple cards here so you can see some finished cards. Okay. Pick that up, move it out of the way. As you see, I'm starting to get ink on my fingers, but that's okay. Now, here's our blue one. Here's the one we did today. which I kind of like. And then here's the one I already had done the other day when I was filming for my bonus class. I think we'll go ahead and use that one because this is a little, I mean, it could be used. But I already had this one kind of prepped, ready to go here. So I have 5.5 by 8.5 standard card base. I have a 4 by 5.25 basic black layer. And then we will trim this piece down for our inside piece. Because what we're going to do, what I have been doing lately is trimming off the long side first so that I have a little strip for the inside, because we want to trim this down to 3 3/4 by 4. So I've been, now you can trim from both sides if you want, or you can trim from one side. Like, see, there's a nice piece, but I think I'm going to go ahead and trim then the 3 3/4, and I'll take another piece right off of here, and then we'll have 2 strips that we can use for the inside. So there's 3 3/4, and we want to go by 5. And I want to trim off both top and bottom a little bit. Okay, there's that. And we won't need those pieces. And then let's go ahead. I know this isn't trimmed down to 4 by 5.25 for our inside, so we'll trim this up a little bit too. Go to 4 by 5.25. Okay, and that's all of our cutting. Get this out of the way. And let's go ahead and put these down since I have them laying here. Then we won't lose them or get anything on them. Now, I chose not to put any phrases on most of these as of right now. That doesn't mean you can't. I just was kind of going, and sometimes it's okay to have a blank, no phrase on the card front. And that's kind of what I did here. Now, the nice thing is you could go back and add a phrase at any given time. Or you can just write your sentiment on the inside. I'm telling you, some of these really Halloween. This might come back out at Halloween and make some Halloween cards. Or fall cards. I shouldn't necessarily say Halloween, but it could be some nice fall cards. Okay. So we have our 2 little strips on this one. Right there. Throw that away. And then we will go ahead. That's our inside. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some assembly here. Let's just attach this to the card front, or to the basic black layer. And I'm using Stamp & Seal Plus. That's my, I use Stamp & Seal Plus and the green glue are my kind of go-to, besides dimensionals. But so there's that. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I see an issue here with this one. Something's unwinding funky. At least it looks like it is. Okay. Maybe it was just a little splotch there. All right. I need to clean my case really good. So to clean these, like, you get a lot of sticky residue on here, you can use hand sanitizer. Works really well. Just take everything apart and kind of go run it underwater with some hand sanitizer, and you'll get all those little sticky residue things off. And it'll be good as new. Okay, here we go. There's that. I love it. I think there's so much potential for really, I mean, for what you can do with the card. Now, I get it. In some ways, we are kind of just stuck with the same layout here. But you could do some trimming if you wanted and cut in strips. But I really liked being able to see the whole picture here. And I may come up with some others. Okay, There's that. Now we'll burnish. And there's that one. And let's see, I have a couple others here that I had already pre-stamped that some other backgrounds. This looks like it was Flirty Flamingo and maybe some yellow, but this looks like it was probably like the third or fourth steps going through. It wasn't the first darker copy of it, or soaking up of ink, I guess you want to say. Now, if you wanted to do this a little different with, let's say, blending brushes, you could stamp first and then add your color. You would use less ink, kind of, because you wouldn't have to necessarily focus on areas where it's pretty dark, where you've got all the trees and stuff. I personally would put the ink down first and then stamp it. Okay, there's that. And I had one little strip on this one that I cut off. So let's go ahead and put that one down. Like, you could make a whole bunch of these in different colors, the same color, however you want to do it, and kind of wrap them up and hand them out as a gift. Okay, just trimming off that excess. And then we'll attach this to the inside. Okay, there's that one. I like it. I like the variation of the color we've got going on here with all three of these that we're putting together. Just all so different, but so pretty. Oops, we didn't score that. Let's score it really quick. And let's go ahead and do some assembly here. Make sure that's long enough. Ooh, just barely. So I may trim it down just a little bit once we get this on. And you could put it this direction, I guess. We could go, because I really think it's almost too short. No, let's put it on. Make up your mind, Debbie. Just a little bit shy. So what I'm going to do, that's what I was afraid of. I must have cut it a little short. So I'm just, or this isn't 5 inches. Oh, well, that would be because this isn't 5 inches. I hadn't cut this piece down yet. And then this would be 3 3/4. There, that would explain why I hadn't trimmed that white piece down. All right, inside, let's get some layers going on here. And let's attach this to the basic black. Now, I do recommend you're putting lots of adhesive on here. Like you see, I go around all 4 sides because you have altered the paper and it might still be warping a little bit. Now, if you want to help alleviate the problem of the warping, you can always, once you make a whole bunch of these, take the stack and put it under something heavy, and that'll help flatten them out a little bit too. Like I said, sometimes I just make a whole bunch of these, and then I just have a little shelf I put them on, and when I'm thinking about watercolor, it's like, oh, let me try some that I already have, and if I like what it looks like stamped with watercolor backgrounds, then I usually will make some more. Oh, and I'm going to show you what the one looks like. I didn't even turn it into a card, but with the watercolor paper. I didn't like it as well, so we picked up, oh, this would be because this is my inside. Oh, well, I don't know what I trimmed this down to, but clearly it'll be a little bit smaller. Not sure why I cut it down that small. Who knows? Okay, there's the 3 we just put together. We stamped that today, and like here's one we just stamped that we made today. Watercolor background. Here it is. So here's the one I did with a watercolor paper. I didn't like how we could see all the texture from the watercolor paper. And it doesn't always do it like that, and I may play some more with it. I don't know, but yeah. Anyway, I didn't like, oh, we almost have the same color combination going on here. See the difference in paper? Yeah, I personally didn't like how that turned out. All right, well, here's what we came up with today. Here's some of the others I already had done. So hopefully this gives you some great ideas of what you can do with this stamp set and watercolor backgrounds. Yes, I really like this stamp set. And like I said, you can add a little phrase down here if you want. I just didn't today. Like, I had one of these cut here, but I wasn't sure I wanted black. I may want to cut like the Daffodil Delight and stamp it. Or I wasn't sure I wanted white. Sorry, not black. Because I felt like that may be a little stark for the front since there's not a whole lot of white on it. But little tiny phrase is all I was putting on some of the other cards I did too. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed today's projects, and I will be back again on Thursday. Have a great Tuesday. Bye, guys.